I touched on this yesterday, that the Vancouver Canucks prospect Jet Wu was snubbed from Team Canada's World Juniors camp. So, without further ado, let's actually talk about the guys who were selected for their respective clubs. Let's start things off with Michael DiPietro from Team Canada. Considering the fact that I've talked about him quite a bit over these past few weeks, what with all the trade rumors and the actual trades that have gone down with DiPietro's name in the OHL. Michael DiPietro has made the goaltending list for Team Canada, alongside of his most likely backup or his starter, who really knows, Ian Scott. I've made videos about Ian Scott as well as DiPietro in the past few weeks. These two have been totally tearing things up in their respective leagues. Ian Scott is the best goaltender in the WHL. He's arguably better than Carter Hart was last year. He's Carter Hart level, ladies and gentlemen, and Michael DiPietro was just so solid this entire season as he got traded over to the Ottawa 67s. He's no longer a Windsor Spitfire, but the young goaltender taken in the 2017 draft is still on such a good record towards breaking the shutout record for the OHL. I think he's like one away from doing so or whatever, but now that he's playing with the best team in the OHL, I think that he's probably gonna reach that. That's just me, I'm predicting things here, but overall, DiPietro is a guy that people have had their eyes on for a while, especially as a Vancouver Canucks prospect. He is supposed to be in a good position to make the NHL. Of course, it's not guaranteed, it's never guaranteed when it comes to goaltenders, but as the Vancouver Canucks already have Thatcher Demko, a player like DiPietro is not a bad player to have, and he certainly has a lot of upstock and a lot of potential going forward. It'll be interesting to see him in this World Juniors, considering that he was one of the last cuts of the Team Canada World Junior team last year, the team that ultimately went on to win gold with Carter Hart, as mentioned beforehand, but DiPietro now, with a year under his belt, is looking towards taking that spot. But I just don't know if it's gonna happen because Ian Scott has just been really darn good. So overall though, Team Canada has two really good goaltenders to pick out from in DiPietro and Ian Scott. Whichever one they go with, things will be alright in my opinion. DiPietro is currently sitting at 5th in the OHL in save percentage with a .920 and 3rd in goals against average in the OHL with 2.32. He's all the way up there and he's one of the best. Going over to the other prospects that the Vancouver Canucks have in their system at the World Juniors though, let's move over to Finland, where we talk about Toni Utunen, who was drafted by the Vancouver Canucks in this 2018 NHL entry draft. He was actually drafted in the 5th round, so he was a guy that a lot of people didn't necessarily have all too much knowledge about when he was selected 130th overall. There were a few people, like I know Moroki was really in on this. He actually did a little bit of research about Utunen, and he liked his game beforehand. Way before the draft, I believe Moroki was talking about how this young Finnish D-man looked to be basically like a gem in some fashion. Of course, not like an elite talent, but just somebody who's got the drive and the ability to potentially make it into the NHL one day. But Utunen, taken in the 5th round, has been playing in the Liga as well as the Métis, mostly the Liga though. He's played with the Tappara team, that was Patrick Laine's team back in the Liga. As an 18-year-old over there, he's got 19 games played and 1 assist. That's it. But at the same time though, Utunen is not a stranger to being on Team Finland. He's represented Finland a lot in the past. He's the captain of the Team Finland U18 team last year at the World Juniors Under-18s, and overall he's been a player who's been pretty solid. Not necessarily as a goal-scoring, point-producing threat, but just as a solid, stable defenseman. That's why he was selected for Team Finland here today, and overall, I'm expecting him to make the team. Like, I'd be lying if I said that I think he's gonna get cut. Utunen is not necessarily the flashiest of guys, but he's a player that does a lot of things right, and overall, he's been representing Finland a lot throughout his past few years. If you look at his Elite Prospects page, he played 8 games with Finland's U16 team, he played with U17, U18, a lot with U18, now he's most likely gonna play even more Finland games for the U20 team. I'm expecting him to make the World Juniors, honestly. it would be cool. Especially it's in Vancouver, right? Like, he gets to come over here, experience the hockey environment, and the fans get to know him. It'll be great. Now let's move over to USA, because for the first time in a while, the Vancouver Canucks actually have quite a few American players. And specifically, the first one is in Quinn Hughes. Yeah, that's very obvious to see why Quinn Hughes would have made it. He's arguably, let's say he is the best defender on Team USA's squad. Quinn Hughes is just so good right now, arguably the best defender in the NCAA, and I say arguably because there's like 2 or 3 guys who could really challenge him. One of these guys is really above him in terms of points and is very much arguable to be better than Hughes, but overall, Quinn Hughes is over here on Team USA's lineup. He's got 19 points in 15 games for the University of Michigan right now, over a point per game, and that is awesome. But the 7th overall Vancouver Canucks pick from 2018 is on Team USA, and he will most likely be driving everything. The power play, maybe the penalty kill, I don't know if you'd want to put him there, but you could. And the 5-on-5 lines, he's probably going to be top pairing, alongside of his brother Jack Hughes, who will be the first line center, most likely. Like, let's be honest here, Team USA, you got some really good offensive players like Ryan Poehling and Jay O'Brien, Farabee, Wahlstrom. Jack Hughes is the big one here, boys. And Jack Hughes is the one that's still gonna be really, really freaking good. Arguably better than all the ones that were already drafted. And that's no disrespect to Farabee, Wahlstrom, etc. Jack Hughes is just that good. And with his brother Quinn Hughes, we've seen it in the past. They're so good together, and I'm just excited. I'm excited. The fans are excited. The GM's excited. The hockey teams are excited. The advertisers are excited. I'm excited. Everybody is excited in Vancouver to watch Team USA. And Jack Hughes and Quinn Hughes, it's gonna be a riot. Like, the World Juniors were made for players like Jack Hughes and Quinn Hughes. I remember S7 said the same thing about Casey Mittelstadt last year. And look at what he did. Okay, I'm actually getting way off track. That's Quinn Hughes on Team USA. But there was one more player that actually made Team USA too, or at least the training camp. Let's establish that here. These are the training camps, not the final teams. And that's Tyler Madden. Madden was also drafted by the Canucks in 2018. He was drafted in the 3rd round, and a lot of people were like, whoa, what was that? Why did we draft Tyler Madden? Jake Wise, he was on the board. We should have taken Wise, because Wise went right after Madden, taken by the Chicago Blackhawks. Now, Jake Wise is back in the USHL. He got sent back down. Meanwhile, Tyler Madden, with Northeastern, by the way, as the replacement for Adam Gaudette, he has 11 points in 13 games, which is absolutely nuts, just establishing that right now. He came into that lineup and immediately just made a sudden impact with everything. And before you knew it, Northeastern, they were posting it on Twitter, their lines. They'd post their lines last year too, I think, but Adam Gaudette was the first line center, alongside of Dylan Secura and all of those other guys, and Caden Primo in the back end. Tyler Madden is already Northeastern's first line center, and he's 18 years old. He's a Vancouver Canucks prospect and a freshman taken in the 3rd round. This was a player that a lot of Vancouver Canucks fans were kind of pissed off that we took because Jake Wise was on the board, and Jake Wise is not doing as well as Madden today. Madden is now on Team USA alongside of his teammate, goaltender Caden Primo, Montreal Canadiens prospect. He's very good as well. But Madden is a player who exhibits a really strong overall game. He can basically do everything. You know, his dad, John Madden, was a great NHL player for the New Jersey Devils, won a lot of things with them, won a few cups as well, but the big kicker here that a lot of people were talking about Madden, over Wise at least, was that Jake Wise isn't necessarily a guy who would be okay with being buried in a lineup, because he's a guy who exhibits this kind of attitude, this aura, that just wants to be in the spotlight. Now, this is not me saying anything about his character personally, this is just what I've been told by other people online and everything. This is what I've seen other people saying. Jake Wise is a player who doesn't necessarily thrive when he's buried, and he wants to be in the spotlight. Meanwhile, Tyler Madden, who is a center, and let's just establish that right now, Wise and Madden are both centers, so if everything were to pan out, our center core would be like Pettersson, Horvat, Gaudette, and then Madden or Wise, whichever one we took, in a fourth line position, or even in a really limited role just on the team because of their position. But the connotation that people were talking about with Tyler Madden was that he's a guy who's literally the son of John Madden. The guy who wasn't necessarily all super important in a lot of these playoff runs and on these teams. John Madden won a cup in 2010 with Chicago. He had 2 points in 22 games in the playoffs. That was pretty recent, and John Madden is a guy who knows what it takes to stay in the NHL. He played a ton of NHL games, 898 to be exact, and he had 350 points. He's not a guy who's going to be not willing to play in the bottom six, because Madden has been in there before. And because John Madden was able to develop his game to maintain an NHL-like structure throughout his long career, it just shows Tyler Madden, his son, that being in a bottom six role is okay. And if he does make the NHL with Horvat, Pettersson, and Gaudette ahead of him in the center depth chart, it's fine, because Madden is a guy who would be okay with that. Wise, on the other hand, is not necessarily somebody who would be complacent with that, at least from what I've heard. But overall, that's Tyler Madden. And to conclude everything, those were the 4 Vancouver Canucks prospects who have been invited to their training camps for the World Junior Championships in Vancouver and Victoria in the new year. Get your tickets, folks. I really kind of want to, but it's very expensive. I'll let you know right now. But regardless, all of us are probably really excited for this. Can't wait to see Utunen live, Hughes live, Madden I'm very looking forward to seeing, and DiPietro as well. Obviously, it's gonna be a great time. World Juniors are always fun, and now they're in Vancouver. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. Plus, gaming, and bye.